Welcome to another great video talking CPP average.
We are.
Does not get the max. In fact, the average Canadian is 41% lower than the maximum CPP, which means they're leaving lots of money on the table. We're going to go over what the maximums are, what the averages are for various ages, and then help you determine how much you will get. But let's start here, Kevin, first with a common misconception.
The common misconception is that everybody does not get the same CPP. I mean, it's true. You're not all going to get it, but it's based on your contributions. That's the biggest thing that you have to first remember. Contributions are the main thing. So for the maximum CPP at the age of 65, as of January of this year, it's $1,433. Your average CPP pension at 65 as of April of 25 is only $844.53. So what we're seeing is that the average monthly benefit is actually 41% lower than what the maximum that you can get allowed is.
Yeah, it's a very big gap. Now, we're going to look at the averages and maximums for various ages here, 60, 65, 70. So you kind of have an idea of what you could get at these various ages. To understand the differences, you have to know there's a penalty. You take CPP before 65,
That's right?
You get hits, 0.6% per month or 36% if you do a full 5 years. So take it at 60. If you delay, you get a bonus, 0.7% of a bonus.
Perfect.
Or if you delay all the way to 70, that's 42% extra in your pocket for your pension. What that looks like, again, the 65 numbers you just mentioned, that's the average of 844 plus that max at 1,433. If we bonus those numbers up, while your average then at 70 is almost $1,200, 1,199, and your max at 70 is over $2,000 is 2,034.86. Or if you do the opposite, you take that average and the max down 65 and you penalize them, you move them down. Well, now at 60, your average, it's like $540 a month. And your max is about 917. So you can see the averages and maximums at 60, 65, and 70, and how those will vary. So how much are folks going to get for CPP? What are the key factors here, Kevin?
Yeah, some substantial differences we saw in those numbers right there. But what determines it? I mean, the key factors are, number one is its contributions. How much you're putting in there. Your benefit depends on a variety of different things and the duration of how long you've been doing it. If you've worked most of your life, you're probably going to have more contributions than if you haven't. If you work full-time as opposed to part-time, again, those things are going to go into your factor depending on how your CPP is going to go. So both employer and employee have to contribute a percentage of the earnings to what's known as the yearly maximum pensionable earning, or YMPE. And for 2025, that's $71,300. So if you're earning up to that, you're making the maximum contribution for the year. Anything over that, no, you still make that maximum at $71,300. So you can't catch up or play anything beyond those ones. So your YMP, of course, is adjusted annually. Every year that goes up slightly. It is based on inflation and a variety of other things. And to receive the maximum CPP for this year, your earnings must meet or exceed that for at least the last 39 years. So again, it's hard to get that max just because, your working lifespan may only be 40 overall. And so, of course, the more you contribute, the longer you contribute, the higher the pension will go, and you get to deal with things from there.
Yeah, so contribution is a very big factor. What you put in the program very much determines what you get out of the program. Another factor here of how much you're going to get out of CPP is going to be based on your average earnings. Now, these two are related. Obviously, the average earnings is going to depend or determine how much you contribute. So there's definitely a give and take here. The two are related. But ideally, you have higher average earnings, more contributions, you get a higher retirement benefit. That's really how it works. CPP payments are calculated on kind of an idea of a best 40 years.
Yes.
They take an average there for the earnings. If your annual earnings throughout your career are consistently high, meaning they're meeting or exceeding that YMPE, that Kevin just mentioned, you're going to get the max out of CPP. So if you're able to hit that, you get the max. Where you could have issues with your CPP calculation is if there are gaps in earnings, so years you take off, you're not working. If there are low earning years or years with no earnings, that could reduce your average. That means you could have less contributions, which means you'd get less benefit out of CPP. So two big factors there. A quick example, let's say we have Jack, and he switched jobs many times in his career, which is not
unlikely. No, not at all.
Some of those jobs were lower earning years. He actually had a couple of periods where he took some time off. Well, all of that would mean inconsistent contributions, perhaps some lower earning years with lower contributions. That would mean Jack would get less out of CPP.
Exactly.
Eventually, that kind of comes in the form of a lower pension. We're going to go over how you can increase your CPP. You move from that average closer to the max. And before we do, though, folks, always have questions of CPP. How do they get hold of us?
You go to chatwithclintonandkevin.com. By all means, any CPP questions or other things that you have on your mind for finance, please send them off to us, and we'd be more than happy to answer them as quickly as we can. But based on that sort of scenario that you mentioned, how to increase your CPP, one way is work while you're receiving it. So if you decide to start collecting at 60, well, you are going to be paying into it until 65 because that's the normal time to take. So if you're collecting prior to, you must continue to contribute. And at 65, contributions at CPP at that point are optional. So if you go to 70, you don't have to contribute after 65, but you do have to contribute up to there. So all contributions, of course, generate post-retirement gains, which will increase your retirement income. And option number 2 on that sort of thing is you can drop out the lower years. And that's the biggest factor. So again, if you're looking at, sort of you're excluding the lowest, what's known as 17% of your contribution period. So if you assume you work from 18 when you become an adult to, let's say, 65, and you take away that 17%, you're getting rid of 8 years. So over that time frame, no matter where you're working in it, chances are you're going to eliminate the worst 8 years you've got. Dropping those ones going to help bump that average up. So maybe there's times you weren't working and you're earning a low salary. That's going to make your CPP overall a lot bigger going forward.
Yeah. So, for example, in our prior example, Jack, and he had some job switching, some low earning years, some time away. Well, he could use that dropout provision. 17% was a contributing period up to about 8 years, and he could drop out some of those low earning years,
which is nice,
which could definitely boost his average earnings, boost his contributions. That would definitely help out for his pension. Most folks, generally their higher earning years are later in their career. Often people don't maximize their earnings at 18 and 19. So those are commonly the years that get dropped out.
Yep.
But that provision can definitely help out. Other details here with CPP that can help boost your overall benefit. Another one here is the child rearing provision. So if you're a primary caregiver, you're at home with the kids are under 7, you can get those years dropped from the formula, which will boost your overall contributions, or at least boost your average earnings and help out with your overall formula. That one you have to apply for. So the prior one, which was the dropout provision that everyone gets 17%, that one I believe is automatic. When you fill in the application for CPP, they're going to ask questions about the kids. And if you're the primary caregiver, and you actually have to fill in a form to apply to have that child rearing provision in the formula.
That's right.
To drop out the years you're at home with the kids to boost your overall benefit. But that's certainly another way you can increase your CPP.
Of course. So, I mean, there's that one. And then if you want to take a look at it, there's a disability provision. That's another one that you may want to look at. So if you're experiencing a period of disability and you receive the CPP disability benefit, you can exclude that period from the time frame. Yeah. So again, that really helps out because, again, this doesn't count towards it because you might have been collecting or lower earnings, and that's going to give you a bit better of a scenario there. And of course, consistency. So to receive the max, you must be earning above that YMPE number that we mentioned for 39 years. So, I mean, basically, when you start your career, you must be at that max number and go from there. So that's why a lot of people don't ever get the full credit for maximum CPP. You can drop out years as mentioned, but too many low income years or 0 years are going to have a huge impact on how your benefits work going forward.
Yeah, and you might say, well, you didn't mention delaying CPP as a way to boost it. But again, we're trying to go here from average closer to max. So even if you delay and you still only get the average, your average will just be a little higher.
That's right.
We're trying to get more out of CPP, average to max, explaining some of the dropout provisions, a few other tips, and we'll get into how to estimate your CPP.
That's right.
So you can see how much you're going to get. But quickly, if you like videos like this, we do have a newsletter, completely free. You get financial planning tips in your inbox, usually once a week. If you want to sign up, there's a link in the description. How do you estimate your CPP? First tip here, and this is a very rough guide, but CPP was originally designed to replace about 25% of your income. So it's never meant to be your whole pension.
No.
It was always meant as a complement. They did recently change CPP. It has been enhanced, and now it's intended to replace about a third, about 33% of your income. So if we go back to Jack here, assume he's making $36,000. Well, if it replaces a third, that'd be about $12,000 a year. By no means is that going to be completely accurate. That kind of gets you in the very general ballpark because there are limitations, there's caps. It's an every year kind of formula. It can get a little more cumbersome to calculate, but that can kind of be the start of your estimate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you really want to look at how to estimate your CPP, there are calculators that are out there to do that, and it's probably not a bad place to look. I mean, you could go to Canada.ca, which has a retirement income calculator. Now, it's detailed. It allows for dropout provisions. Probably take you anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes to get the whole thing done. So it's a little more involved, but you're probably going to get a fairly accurate design of that. But there are also other ones like PWL Capital has a calculator. It's quicker. It allows for dropout provisions. May not be as concise, but you can get through that process a lot easier to try and figure it out. But I mean, those aren't the only ones you can do.
Yeah, the best bet is you get your statement of contributions. That's a bit of jargon, but that's going to show you all the contributions you've made in the CPP over your years.
Yep.
It's going to have a year-by-year assessment. It'll also give you an estimate of what you might receive at various ages, for example, 60, 65, and 70. And that's based on what you've worked up until that date. So it's the most accurate way is to get that statement of contributions. Usually you have to request it, which means you could go online. That's our suggestions. You have My Services Canada account, go online. Or if you got 5 hours to kill, you can phone them and be on hold forever. Or you could also go to a location. There are Services Canada locations. I'm not sure they'll be able to print it for you right there, but you can it and maybe they mail it to you. But couple of ways you can get your hands on that statement of contributions to get far more accurate details of what you could receive from CPP.
Yeah, and so what we're talking about here is your average CPP benefits and how much you get. So let's remember when we're concluding on a variety of these things, we're not talking about when you should take it. That's a completely separate decision. We're just giving you what the average is, how much you'll get, and how you can increase what's going on. So, of course, the misconception is if you retire at 60, take it right away because lower earning years are going to happen between 60 and 65, and that'll drag your formula down. Well, it's possible it might do that, but compared to the 36% you're going to lose as opposed to waiting to 65, chances are it's not going to drag it down that much. So that may be something you want to look at. And often the penalty for taking it early, as we said, outweighs the impact of those low income years. But what's the best thing that we should be doing?
Of course, let's have a plan. Yeah, very rarely is CPP the driver of a financial plan.
Yeah.
People typically have financial goals for retirement, for sustainable retirement, maybe for an estate, lots of financial goals which the plan has to grapple with. CPP has to fit within that structure. It has to fit within the goals. Rarely is CPP the driving force and everything else fits within CPP. It's the other way around.
Yes.
So you have to just keep that in mind. It's typically a secondary decision. It's normally not the primary driver of the plan, but something that fits within the goals you're trying to achieve with your financial plan. We did talk about enhanced CPP briefly there, saying it's a 33% replacement goal now. We have a whole video here that dives deep into the 2025 changes in CPP and what it looks like. Click on that one. We'll see you again very soon.
Take care.